What do you see when you look at the sky? A deep, dark blue. A veil only to be pierced by the most daring and bravest aviators. For me, freedom. When I was little, my dad had a collection of die-cast commercial models in our garage, and I'd obsess over them and swing them around whenever I had the chance. When I was lucky enough to go on vacation, I loved flying. That feeling of weightlessness and soaring above the clouds was something I've never gotten sick of. And then I grew up. I thought aviation and the sky it lived in was boring. I could give you a million reasons why my obsession halted. But to me, none of them seem right. Something I held so dear to my heart was just cast aside. Now I'm older, yet I still look to the sky, jealous of those who get to call it home. And I've tried chasing that feeling of childlike wonder, virtual experiences that mimic flight, games and movies to fill the void, and somehow nothing ever came close. Until now. Ace Combat 7 was released in 2019 and is the 8th mainline entry into the franchise. Set in a fictional world of advanced yet familiar technologies, full of all too many reminders of the pain of war and the beauty of flight. I never grew up with these games, and in fact, 7 was my first in the franchise. I picked it up on sale after seeing the iconic Tunnel Run clip earlier this year, and thought it was worth a shot. I'd heard about the cast of plucky characters and rich, yet at times confusing narrative the series has built up over the years. After experiencing it firsthand, I feel like the best way to describe it is managed absurdity. The sky circus of tens, if not hundreds of aircraft dancing between one another, vying for power above, is something that can only happen in a game of this caliber. Ace Combat is such a uniquely individual franchise. For a game about planes, it seems to stand on its own. It made me feel like a fighter pilot in the ways the younger me could only dream of. The roar of afterburners and volley of missiles, contrasted against sweeping vistas and an endless blue, makes me yearn for a life I can never live. In a way, it's a somber reminder of a future that I know can never come to be. But for a short while, I can forget the weight of reality and take off. Once airborne, the game is almost a non-stop joyride to the finish line. With missions focusing on large-scale combined arms assaults and high-tension dogfights, it also features specific objective missions, such as taking out missile silos and frozen mountain ranges, or weaving between a canyon at only a few hundred feet of elevation. The game almost never lets off the gas, and for all of it, you're there in the pilot's seat. The game is without a doubt a power fantasy, where Trigger, the silent, unwavering protagonist, is a pivotal catalyst. And I think that's one of the game's biggest strengths. This kind of narrative is built around that mentality, with Trigger happening to the story, and not the other way around. And that's what I meant by managed absurdity earlier. The plot of every Ace Combat game has its toes dipped in a grounded reality, but never stays there. Much like its gameplay, it soars to new heights with grander and grander plot points. The craziness of the gameplay is the main attraction of Ace Combat, and Skies Unknown doesn't shy away from crafting a compelling experience. 29 aircraft are offered in the base game, ranging from Cold War icons to modern-day demons. There is definitely something here for everyone, and with a generously sized unlock tree, there's all the more reason to strive for a higher score and mission rank. Aircraft customization is handled extremely well, as you're given a limited amount of upgrade slots, which encourages tooling different planes for specific roles. My playthrough typically involved a generalized jack-of-all-trades build, mobility enhancements for close-quarters gunfights, and building a missile truck that would volley ordnance at anything with a heat signature. The suspension of disbelief is weaved into the core of the game, which ties back into that power fantasy. In no world is a Tomcat picking a fight with a Raptor or Su-57 and coming out on top. But in Ace Combat's world, it can. Hyper-advanced autonomous UAVs or behemoth drone carriers are ultimately defeated by the sheer will and resilience of human pilots. It's that humanity that ties together the plot of the game. In a world where technology is so quick to cast aside the human element, it's that very factor that becomes the deciding force in the narrative's climax. Trigger isn't the legendary ace they are because they did everything alone. It was because they were supported by equally talented pilots. Trigger is elevated by their peers, and vice versa. That human element is what drives the plot forward. The insurmountable might that is the human spirit is on full display in this game. And no pun intended, but the planes ultimately serve as a vehicle for the story to be told. The dance and roar of fighter jets contrasting the simple act of giving someone in need a helping hand. And funnily enough, Trigger is never the focus of cutscenes. Despite being the protagonist, they're not the main character. At the end of the day, Trigger is just one of many soldiers fighting for a tomorrow that they believe in, doing the right thing, not because it's easy, but because they choose to. And looking back at it, it's funny that a game where the core gameplay loop is aerial combat and cool jets chooses to tell a story of the nature of war and the ever-consuming beast of progress. It chooses to have cutscenes of a group of misfits standing above the rest to forge a new world, of a legendary pilot of a bygone era who can't accept the future, and of a tomorrow brought about through sheer belief that anything is possible, no matter the odds. Ace Combat 7 has done for me now what Top Gun Maverick did in 2022. It reignited a passion for something that I love in a way I hadn't thought possible. That it's never just the plane, it's the pilot. That it's the human sitting at the stick, staring at that deep, dark blue, and soaring through skies unknown.
Tu te souviens de nos fleurs préférées qui chantaient tout près de nous, du jour de ta déclaration d'amour,